Hey everyone, welcome back to Instinct Unfiltered, your source for sports. Today we have a special interview with Eric Tafoya. Eric, can you tell the people a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Clovis, California. Been doing armored combat, medieval fighting for about 6 years now, and that's pretty much consumed my life ever since I got started. It's addicting.
How did you get into sport?
So like, man, I growing up, I used to do football and soccer, pole vaulting, and track and field. And so I was very active. And then when I got into college, I just stopped doing sports, and I was just working, coming home every day. And I was getting bored with life. And my Costco supervisor, he was telling me about this awesome sport that people get into armor and they fight. And me, I'm just like, oh yeah, that's cool, whatever. I was not into anything medieval. In fact, I thought that whole topic, that whole genre was kind of boring. I didn't even like medieval movies. And he showed me footage, and I was like, "Damn, that's badass." And he's like, "You want to try it?" I saw this flyer for someone putting on a practice. He saw it on like a gas station or something, and he was like, "Do you want to go try it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" And I asked him two questions though. I was like, "Is it safe? And do you fight as a team?" And he's like, yes and yes. It was like, it's his more accurate response is, you're as safe as you make yourself.
Oh,
So
okay.
you can do the bare minimum, and you can get hit a lot, and it'll probably hurt. It'll probably give you some bruises. And so and I'll get into like potential injuries and
Right.
later. um but yeah, he answered yes to both those questions, and I was like, all right, I'm in. Let's go practice. And so I went to practice, and there was only like three of us. It was me, my supervisor, and the guy putting on the practice. So it was real, and it was at the guy's house too, in the front
Oh,
yard,
wow.
and that's where I tried on armor for the first time, and it was my former captain's armor, and he's like 6'2", double my body weight. So the armor was big and clunky, and let me tell you, when you put on an helmet for the first time, you almost anyone who has no experience with wearing helmets or being confined a lot, they get what we call like helmet horror, which is like, you start like almost panicking. You start
Mm.
if you don't control your breathing, you start almost like hyperventilating, like holy shit, like you start panicking because you feel enclosed in like basically almost like a tomb,
Like
and
claustrophobia.
yeah, yeah. And so
Mm.
I almost had that, but after like one or two rounds of like 20 seconds of fighting, I was just gassed. I was dead.
Oh, I
And
bet.
I was moving slow. So if you ever saw like clips of my very first practice, you'd see that I'm moving slow. It's almost like slow motion fighting. Um,
Mm.
and then as you gain experience, you get armor that fits you, you get more practice, and then pretty soon you're competing at top tournaments and whatnot. And so that's where I'm at. Currently I fight with the Sacramento War Pigs team.
Okay.
So they're comprised of the Fresno team, ordered the Gauntlet Rose, and so
Mm.
we took our best fighters from Fresno, the Gauntlet Rose, and we combined them with the War Pigs, and we basically made like an all-star team between the two of us,
Okay.
and we go to tournaments and compete, and we've gone overseas to most recently to Prague
Mm.
to fight at the World Championships, and then upcoming our next tournament, actually next week, is going to be
Oh,
in South Carolina. Um, it's the top national tournament basically.
wow.
So yeah, we have a lot on our plate, and there's a TikTok on our page where it shows like the progression of basically where we come from and like where we are now. And at the
Mm.
beginning of the video, you see me and my supervisor fighting in a park with foam weapons and like boxing headgear, and it's just us just beating the shit out of each other with no technique, just being sloppy. And then the next scene is basically us in our own training facility, a warehouse. We have like
What?
6 people, and we're just fucking throwing down. So yeah.
That's crazy. Is there any kind of misconceptions or things that people might misallude when they think of like armored combat or medieval combat? Because like I'll give you an example. So like the first thing I thought of, and you like were really respectful in your answer, because even though like I was very like I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, is it like LARPing? And you're like, no.
Yeah, so that's something we get. That's one of the most common things we get about the sport is that they're like LARPing, or they think of role models, and
Okay.
there's no LARPing, there's no role playing. It's all competitive, unscripted.
Mhm.
Well, LARPing is also unscripted, but this is we fight to pain tolerance, or pain compliance rather, and
Right.
then we utilize a lot of grappling and throws to get the opponents down on the ground in melee fightings. But it's funny you bring up LARPing, because honestly, LARPers are the top fighters in the U.S. and in the world, because the U.S. team, their name is Dominus. They took gold in the men's 5 versus 5. Most of those guys got their start as LARPers.
Wow.
LARPing is great for it can be good for technique, and it's great for field awareness, because with LARPing, you barely get hit, and that counts as like a hit. You
Right.
lose an arm, or you lose a leg, or whatever. So it teaches you to keep your head on a swivel and make sure you don't get blindsided, basically. And so yeah, some of the best fighters in the world are started out as LARPers. So so to some, it's to the what's the word to
uneducated about the sport.
the uneducated, and I'm talking about the people who are just starting the sport, who are
Right.
uneducated about the backgrounds of people.
Mhm.
They'll hear LARPing, and they might get like super offended, and I've gotten to the
Right.
point, I used to get offended, when
Right.
people would be like, oh, you're just LARPing, and they, my old coworkers, when they would hear that, they would, say that to tease me, and I'd be like, no, it's not fucking LARPing, it's blah 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 blah, and I'd go on, but really, it's now, like, just knowing the background, and it's just not earned, but it's like I formed a respect for the for LARPers, because they the top fighters in the world have backgrounds in LARPing. So yeah, no, it's not totally not a disrespect thing when people are like, oh, so it's like LARPing, and it's like, no, but LARPing helps, it can help.
When you guys get ready for a fight, do you guys have like a training camp or something, or like how do you guys prepare? Is it just practice?
Yeah, so we normally hold practices every Sunday, every week, due to financial limitations, time limitations. It's best that we have practice once a week, and because a lot of our fighters are spread between the state, because we have other fighters who live in like San Jose area, San Francisco area, that also fight with us. And because we're so spread out, we could really only meet like once a week. And so training is once a week, and we usually require our fighters to maintain a healthy lifestyle outside of the sport. So like, we can still drink, we can still have fun and whatnot, but we expect our fighters who are serious about this to just basically not overdo it. We expect them to not necessarily have a gym membership, but to do some sort of workout on their own to keep themselves healthy. And if you're not doing that, it's gonna show, during practice. We know who's putting in the work and who's not. Because there should be like a steady progression. Even if you hit like a plateau, that's, I don't want to say that's fine, but that's something that we can work with. If you start, your fighting style starts regressing, that's how we know you're not putting in work. You're just getting off work, sitting on the couch, drinking beer, and if you don't have wind to do anything, as one of the leaders of the teams, I recognize that, and you know. So we basically expect our fighters to have their own training regimen, you know, and we try to help each other out the best we can by giving suggestions in a group chat and, you know, this and that. Or we'll hold each other accountable by like saying, you know, I did this workout, you know, what did y'all do to get stronger today? You know, that's a phrase we constantly say. So we hold each other accountable a lot.
So if there's somebody who's interested in armored combat, like a fresh person, you know, what like advice or what advice or what would you tell them about how to get into the sport?
Come to practice and come with an open mind, ready to learn. A lot of people come and they're like, actually, I have a funny story. This guy I met at a Ren fair, he was interested in joining in the sport, and he was like some security guard or whatever. And he was like, yeah, so the first thing I do is I'd come out with 2 swords. I'll dual wield. And he's like, and I'll disarm you with one hand, and then with the other hand, he's talking about doing some like rap shot. And he's like playing out this whole scenario in his head, like as if he's like Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes or something. And I'm just listening to this guy, and I'm just like, yeah, this is like yes. So someone like that who joins, they may have like a preconception of what they think it's going to be like, but then once they join, it's not going to be like that. And I want to say not even 50-50, probably like 30% of the time, you know, we'll get people that are like, no, I think it should be this way. And it's like, but you haven't been doing this for years, you know? So if someone's not willing to learn or not willing to accept advice, you know, they're not going to go far in the sport. Even me with my background, you know, football, wrestling, you know, I had an athletic background, and I got my ass kicked to like over and over and over again. And, you know, if you're new and let's just say, you know, you don't have any martial arts background, any grappling, any judo, you know, you're going to get your ass kicked, and it's going to happen. You know, it's not if, it's when, you know, and it's going to happen repeatedly. And that's the hardest thing of the sport is trying to mentally overcome that, you know? So for the newer guys that are trying to get into it, just I want them to join and know that, one, it's going to be an expensive sport, you know, and to come with an open mind, ready to learn, ready to get back up after you get your ass knocked down. So,
What would something like, just hypothetically, like an armor set cost roughly?
for a safe one, the reason I say safe is because, you know, you can get the minimum requirements, but that could still that can still injure someone, because you can have major gaps, you can have major, you know, malfunctions. But for a safe one, I would say probably 28 to 3, and that's on the cheaper end. That's the cheapest you can get, maybe. If you want something custom fit to you, you know, brand new, never used, you know, expect a 4 to 5, I would say.
Is that something that you would use? Is something that's custom to your body?
No, even to this day, every single piece of armor I own has been used prior. It just happens to fit me better than the last piece of armor I own.
I see.
Except,
so there are guys in your sport that have custom armor and that will spend. Yeah.
So I had a fighter who just joined like last year, and he had some disposable income, and he was like, hey, like I want to buy all my armor like outright, you know, because usually I'll be like, hey, I'll connect you with this person. This person has an extra helmet that was used for like a year or two. And, you know, if you want to buy it off him, you can. Usually that's how the conversation goes. But this guy, he was saying like, oh yeah, I want to, you know, I have this extra disposable income. I want to buy new armor. So I pointed him to reputable armorers, and yeah, he bought it outright. So like his stuff is brand spanking new. Like it's, you know, like never used prior to him fighting. So, you know, obviously if you have the money to spare, yeah, definitely do that, because then your armor is going to last a long time, or a lot longer, as long as you take care of it.
What do you consider to be your greatest strength as a combatant?
For me personally, my biggest strength is my speed. Because I'm short for the sport. I'm 5'7", anyone shorter than me is gonna have a lot. I mean, myself, I even have a hard time, fighting like some of these 6'2", 6'5" dudes. Like they're giants. But you gotta.
Well, you were telling. Sorry to interrupt you. You were telling me there was a guy that you have that's really big, right? You said he's like 6'5". Was he 6'6" at his sack?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
Thor. Is his name Thor? I forget what's his name.
no, it's he has so many names, but his real name is Dylan. He's
Oh, okay.
he's one of the homies. He actually started in Fresno before he moved.
Okay.
But yeah, we call him our Jotun.
Jotun.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
I don't. So my my knowledge of Norse of the Norse culture is very limited. So I don't even know really what Jotun translates to. It's like a giant or something like that. So but yeah, like he's we call him our Jotun because he's he's tall. But yeah, like what was the question again?
Like, what do you consider to be your greatest strength in the sport?
Yeah. So for someone like my size, you won't find someone trying to just powerhouse through someone. It's rare. And I know guys who are like my size that are just freaks of nature. They're strong, but most commonly they're also fast too. So most of their power comes from their speed and their delivery of their strikes. And that's kind of where I'm at, where my job is to effectively grapple someone and take them down fast. Because if I get caught by a bigger guy and I'm wrestling with them, yeah, sure, I won't go down, right away or even anytime soon during the match. But then my job is basically useless because they tied me up and I'm not running around, taking people down. So for bigger dudes, yeah, definitely, they got the size advantage and the power behind it. So it's all about knowing what your fighting style is.
Well, and I also say you're being humble too, because like, I mean, you're pretty strong, dude. Like you're pretty strong. Like, I was like, I don't know how much background I want to give into this, but like, what is it? My dad always likes to mess with you. You guys get together, and so I mean, like my dad was a boxer or used to box. So Bebo's dad was actually a fighter, like a pretty good fighter. Did your dad ever go pro? No, huh? But he was knocking out big dudes as a little guy for years, and it's so funny because my dad always wants to hit you in the stomach, and his hand always hurts after he hits you in the stomach.
Maybe not so much now because I was doing like a dirty bulk. Whenever I have a tournament coming up, I always try to put on some weight.
Oh.
Because I'm usually around like 160. When I first started, I was like 150, 160. Now I'm 195. I'm trying to push 200. So
that's a good weight.
Yeah.
So you said that you like bulk up before your fights. Do you guys have like you guys have to weigh in and stuff or no?
No. So that's purely for my own personal game, because if I'm like if I'm like 160, someone who's like 6'2", 300 pounds, they're gonna throw my ass like really, really quickly. Whereas if I was 200 pounds, it's that's 40 extra pounds that they have to try to maneuver. So really, it's just for my own personal gain. So if I do pro fights, which is a one-on-one, those fights, that is by weight class. So I try to compete in the 185 weight class. So I'll try to cut like 15 pounds to get in that weight class. There's no way in hell am I gonna fight 6'2" dudes that are fucking 200 pounds. No way. I mean, I can. I just don't want to.
So one of the things you've talked about, you said you do those professional one-on-ones. I've also seen things where it's like 5-on-5. I saw a video where it was 150 on 150. So I'm just going to kind of strictly talk about your one-on-one matchups. Do you analyze or strategize for your opponents before the fight, like watch film or anything, or is it more of like kind of you just go in there and kind of do what you got to do kind of thing?
Yeah. So, man, and this for the longest time I didn't do one-on-ones because like I barely did my first one-on-one a year ago or less than a year ago, and I've been doing this sport for 6 years. And the reason for that is because when I would do wrestling, I would get in I look at it as a toxic headspace. It's a very normal headspace that people experience, but I would get in what I call a toxic headspace where it's almost like very dramatic to say this, but it's almost like a life and death thing, and if you lose, it's like it kills you, like it destroys you, like you just want to be alone, and if anyone tries to comfort you, it's like, get the hell away from me, you want to push them away, like that type of mentality. So so to prepare, I usually do research on my opponent. And my very first pro fight that I had like less than a year ago, my opponent that I fought was brand new, so he's only been in the sport for less than a year, and so I didn't really have a lot to go off of. But I tried to, it kind of sounds bad, I tried to stalk his social media, try to gauge his size, try to gauge his body type, because you can make a lot of assumptions based on that, And so if someone like looks super skinny, you can make your own assumptions. But I fought people that are skinny that are, one of the greatest fighters in the world, and he kicks my ass. He throws me around like almost as if he's like 300 pounds, So
That's crazy.
So you can only make it so far, judging people based off appearance, And I fought dudes that are, they have this huge ass gut, but then they move like they're my size, They move like a NFL, like a lineman almost, it's crazy.
That's some goals right there, bro. That's some goals for the big man right here.
Yeah. And so, preparing, it's all about research. That's what I tell my, even in group fights, I tell them like, research your teams that you're going to fight against, research, get as much information, because then you can see like who's on the team, what their tactics are, and the more information you have, the better prepared you are, and to counter anything that's thrown your way, really.
Okay. Going back to, you were saying that you try to gain some weight before like fights and stuff, but then you said like for the one-on-ones that you try to cut down a little bit. So when you're cutting down, what kind of like a diet and nutrition do you follow to stay on top of your weight?
Yeah, so I'm by no means a fitness expert or anything, so just full disclaimer. But what I do try to do is I try to keep a high protein diet, and I try to, depending how much time I have to prepare. So like if I had like a month to prepare, the diet would be a little more extreme to try to lose 10, 15 pounds in a month. That's not really healthy, and I don't recommend that for anyone, because that sucks. It really sucks to do, and I've done it before. But like if you have, let's say, like 3 or 4 months to prepare, high protein meal, I would stay away from red meats a lot. I like to eat, it's not, red meats aren't bad, but chicken, lean protein is the way to go. Vegetables, eggs. Some people will say, eat egg whites. I don't think you need to only eat egg whites. I think you can get away with regular eggs. There's advantages and disadvantages, but I've lost 30 pounds off of eating like 6, 7 whole eggs, every morning. So it's possible. It's all about the calorie count too.
Right.
In relation to the energy that you're spending. So if you're working out twice a day, you can have a higher calorie intake. But if you sit at an office like I do, you're not burning a lot of calories, and you're working out like an hour and a half a day, you gotta be a little more strict with your diet, So it's all about the relation between how much energy you expend and the calories you intake.
What are your future plans for your career in armored combat, and what are some of your personal goals?
For me, that's kind of that's kind of a tough question because I plan on doing this for, I always said, I want to do this 20 years minimum, and then just keep going till either my body breaks or I'm just too financially poor to to handle it. But no, my personal goal, I guess, yeah, that's one of my long-term goals is just make it 20 years. So I'm 6 years in, I got another 14 years to go. In those 6 years, I've had cracked ribs, concussions, torn ACL, all sorts of injuries. But I noticed most of my injuries happen earlier in my career. Um, and I know I'm kind of going off right now on a different thing, but
That's fine.
I always tell newer guys that basically it's like when you practice in armor, it's almost like driving a car. You're someone who's never driven a car before. They get in, if they have no guidance, basically no coach, they're gonna drive. They're gonna injure themselves. They're gonna injure someone if they crash, and burn. And that's the same thing with armor. So you take someone who's inexperienced, and they fight and they try to do some sort of throw or maneuver, and the technique is bad. You can risk injuring the person you're practicing with, or yourself. And so it really is like driving a car. And the more practice you have, and the better the teachings you have, the less injured you're going to get, the less risk of injury. My most recent injury was I tore my hamstring. It was a very small tear, fortunately. But that was kind of my own doing because I didn't drink water that fucking day. And I, I made a hard cut, in the grass. And when I made a hard cut, I just felt like my muscle, it felt like a cramp that just wouldn't let up. And so I was out for, like a month or two.
Yeah.
But luckily I had an MRI, x-rays, and the doctor told me that I was good to go. But anyways, that's back to the
No, that's good. I mean, I was going to ask you that at some point anyway, so that works out because I don't think people really understand. Like, it was funny because, like, literally right before this interview, I went to go get some food. We have, like, a little food truck thing in our area, like a little farmer's market. And they're like, "Oh, what are you doing today?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm interviewing Eric Tafoya. He does armored combat." I didn't tell him you were my cousin-in-law or anything like that, but I was just like, and then some of the people were like, "Oh, what is that?" And I showed them. They're like, "Oh, man, that looks sick." And I'm like, yeah, and I go, but I don't think people really understand, like, there is a lot, like, there's risks just like with any sport, like, there are risks. You're wearing what, 50, 60 pound armor, depending on your weight, maybe heavier.
Mhm.
And you're basically beating the shit out of each other with blunted weapons.
Yeah.
Injuries are going to happen. So I'm glad that you did talk about it. Cause like I said, my goal of this was to kind of bring some light to your sport and get other fans kind of interested. Cause if you're a fan of boxing, UFC, bare knuckle fighting, like, this is all combat sports. Either way,
I was
any way
gonna
you look
say
at
that.
it. Yeah,
Like,
it's a combat sport.
Yeah.
And like you said, you had a wrestling background. I know you play football, but a lot of those things, like, I've watched a lot of your fights, which we're going to show later, is that you incorporate some of that wrestling. I see you do a couple hip tosses. It's almost like a little bit of judo that you're incorporating into your fighting. And what that does is gives you the advantage to start hitting them with your shield or kind of setting up for your teammates. And so, it's really cool the way that the sport works. But like, I really wanted to show, because like, I know people like my dad, Richie, Bevel, I even have coworkers that are like, dude, I'm super stoked for this interview because this is something that's so different that not a lot of people know about. But when you watch it, like, you can't stop watching it.
Yeah.
Like, I was up last night till like 2:30 watching the stuff that you'd sent me on my phone. And I was just like, dude, this is some of the craziest shit I've ever seen. But, so you, long term, you said you wanted to just be on the sport for 20 years. So what about like short term? Like, I know you have tournaments and some stuff coming up, but I know you had previously mentioned like you guys are trying to get the sport into the Olympics. Is that maybe like a short term goal, or is that more of a long term goal?
That was now we're looking at a long-term goal. Back before COVID, I know that was a conversation that they were kind of shooting for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm by no means a part of the upper management of the USA organization. or I mean, I know the people, but I'm not involved in the talks. I don't,
Mm.
for full disclaimer, I don't have all the details for what prevented it from moving to the Olympics, what is currently preventing us from moving to the Olympics. But I know that was something that was on the table for a little bit.
Mm.
And I think during COVID, and then of course, without getting too political, the invasion of Ukraine with Russia, because Russia was
Right.
a big part of our sport. Our sport used to be called HMB, historical medieval battle, and a lot of it was Russian ran.
Mhm.
But the sport went through different rebrands. We separated from the Russians and Belarus. Just a bunch of shit happened basically that I kind of don't really want to get into, but
No, completely fine.
yeah, but that essentially fuck, I forgot what the question was.
So we were talking about the Olympics, and you said that's more of a long-term goal.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like, if that's a long-term goal, then but maybe like what are some of your like short-term goals as far as like maybe what you want to accomplish by this year, next year, stuff like
So
that.
short-term goals, I want to hopefully eventually run some events.
Well, I mean, I think what it is it gives eyes. Like, I mean, I would think I'd be dope if you were to go. Like, if you had something like that local, like in Fresno, Clovis, like, dude, you know how many people, like even family too, that would want to go to something like that. Like, I would enjoy. I'm not a big drinker, but I'd enjoy a beer and watch that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been wanting to go anyways, but sometimes Sac and North Carolina might be a little too far for me.
Yeah.
It's that's dope. Like, I think that's something that you can definitely do. Like, I think. Like, it's all about growing the sport. Like, your sport is, I would say it's still fairly, I mean, it's old in the sense of like what it is you're doing, but it's newer in the sense of like, it kind of reminds me of, I don't know if this is the best comparison, but like UFC before they started getting big.
Oh yeah.
Where they were like, kind of like, I'm not saying your sport's looked down on, but like UFC was looked down on, right? And it wasn't very popular. And then I think, I was like, I don't even know if I should say this, but like Trump started letting them like fight in some of his hotels and casinos, and eventually it started paying off. And then Nevada picked it up, and it's a sport that's growing, and the more eyes that you bring to it, it's only going to grow your sport. I don't think I've not had a single conversation yet where I was the one who was freaking uneducated that asked you if it was LARPing, but I mean, I wasn't coming from like a disrespectful place. I just didn't know. That was the only thing I can compare it to in my head, because I was like, I'm not sure. But everyone was just like, oh, I've heard of that. That sounds dope. And then now, like today, like I had a video. They're like, that's fucking sick. And I'm like, dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I just imagine, like, it's like you hear stuff on video, and like I said, we're going to show some stuff, but seeing it and hearing it in person, I feel like it's even crazier.
Yeah, definitely. And then
sorry,
another long or short-term goal for my team competitively, so that's like how we can grow the sport. That's my short-term goal for growing the sport, or at least getting more eyes on the sport. But team-wise, I really want us to take home gold at one of our tournaments. So at the Highland Games in Fresno at Kearney Park this past September, we tied for first with another team. It was Santa Barbara, I think it was.
Okay.
I apologize to that team if I'm butchering it, but it's the Soldados. That's their name. We tied for first with them. They were going to have us do a tiebreaker match, and we couldn't, because I had told you earlier that I had a fractured foot during that entire tournament. Another one of our fighters had a torn meniscus. Another fighter was out for just for illness. He was running like a severe fever. He had like I think he had like an infection or something like that. So we were basically running on empty, and
Right.
and it got to a point where it's like, you know what, technically we'll just give them the first place medal, because we're not going to risk anyone else getting injured. But yeah, if you look at the scorecard, we literally matched points. We matched the amount of wins during that tournament. It just, so we tied for first during that. But we want to definitely take home gold and be the sole holder of a gold medal. And if we could do it at Carnage, that'd be great. Carnage is the South Carolina tournament,
Right.
Because right now my Sacramento team, we're ranked fifth in the U.S.
Wow.
And there's a ton of U.S. teams all over. Even though the sport for many, they've never heard of it. If you look online, do a quick Google search, you'll see that there's clubs all over the U.S.
Wow.
Wow. In the 6 years that you have been in armored combat, what is the most valuable lesson you have learned?
I kind of touched on it earlier, but look at your losses as an opportunity for growth. Because for newer guys, like, you're just gonna get your shit rocked every match, every round. My personal experience with that, it was kind of embarrassing. I almost lost faith in myself, that I almost quit the sport when I first started, because I just felt like I wasn't worthy enough to even be in it. Because my first tournament, I had been practicing for a little under a year, and the first tournament was like at the end of 2018, I think like early 2019, and it was at Kearney Park, and I remember I didn't get a single, what we call, kill. We're not actually killing them, but like we consider like a takedown, or if you down someone with by pain compliance, we call that a kill. So that entire match, I didn't get or that entire tournament, I think I only got one kill. And for an entire tournament where you fight 10 matches, that's bad. And so the very first match, not even 10 seconds in, someone blindsides me and just takes me out. And the person who took me out, it just happens to be one of the top fighters in the world. He's, I mean, the guy's amazing. I mean, the guy fighting him, it just fucking sucks. Let me just tell you. But I get blindsided. He pushes me from behind, and I fall on my face, and it was embarrassing. It was really humbling, because I kept getting pushed down, and it's like, damn, I know what I'm capable of, but it's like my body's just not doing what I want. And to make matters even worse, the promo art for the next tournament was used, and it was, get this, it was of me getting pushed down from behind. So I'm flying through the air with my face down. You see my shield in front of me, and you see my name on the shield. So that was the promotional art for the next tournament that was going to be held in Sonora, California. And when I saw that, I was just so embarrassed. I was like, God damn it. It was like, and everyone's watching this, everyone's going to this tournament. And I just felt so like defeated, And so really, that was the biggest lesson I learned is just to look at your failures as opportunities to grow. Because if you don't and you let it consume you, you're not going to accomplish anything. And honestly, if I quit, I wouldn't have even made it to where I am now. All these videos I shared with you guys, all these memories that me and my wife have of traveling the world. It wouldn't have happened if I quit back then.
Right. But it's I think it just shows your perseverance, and it shows that if somebody wants to come into the sport, like, you have to be humbled, or you're gonna get humbled either way, right? You're gonna you're gonna find out real quick. In your head, it's a lot harder than it looks. I joke a lot about stuff with you, but like, I know that if I go in there and try to take the biggest deal, I'm gonna get my ass whooped, and it's just the fact of the matter, because I wouldn't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I think it's good, because it also teaches you humility, and it teaches you that like basically you're almost kind of weeding out people in a sense. I mean, those who are in it, that are going to be down for it, are in it. I mean, you know what I mean? It's kind of just one of those things. I know you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I kind of wanted to just re-ask it. Like, what are your thoughts on the current state of armored combat? Like, I know you had long-term goals, short-term goals, but what about like the current state of the sport? Like, like, what are your thoughts about it? Like, do you want to, I mean, we already mentioned that you wanted to kind of have it more to more eyes and whatnot, but like the sport itself, all the clubs across the United States, what are your thoughts about it?
There, this could be a whole nother podcast segment on its own, but to kind of make it, sum it up without, ruffling too many feathers, because it's not a surprise for anyone in the sport to see that everyone's very opinionated on different subjects. And so to keep it as neutral as possible, I see the current state of the sport as like, it's in the best place right now that it has been since I started. And when I started, it went through a bunch of different, political changes, organizational, if I'm saying that right, organizational changes. And honestly, the U.S. is, I like to poke fun at everyone, being very opinionated with certain things here and there. But honestly, the U.S. is the most unified it's been. So it's in a good state, and it's on the up and up. A lot more eyes are on the sport now than it ever was when I first started. And when I first started, when I tell people what I do, they're like, I've never even heard of that. Now, if I'm getting an X-ray and people are like, and the doctor's like, oh, how'd you do this? I tell them what I do. They're like, oh yeah, I've seen that around. That's usually the response I'm starting to get more and more of. So it's in a good place, but there's definitely room to be in a better place.
Right. I think that's with every sport as well, though.
Yeah.
Like, there's some growing pains, and I kind of use the UFC as an example. That's just the only thing like I've seen that I can kind of relate it to. It's where it's something small and it starts growing and it becomes more popular. And like, the fact that it was in discussion talks for the Olympics is only showing that your sport is growing. And then I think that as more people see it, like someone who, like I said, I'm really into combat sports. And when I got to see it, I was like, holy shit, this is dope. Like, this is sick. Like, but I would have never known if I hadn't met you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this one's kind of a fun question, and I don't know. Have you ever watched WWE? I'm sure you have, or WWF, or anything like that.
I mean, I don't follow it faithfully, but like I've seen it. Yeah.
If you had a persona, would you be a babyface or would you be a heel?
I would be a babyface, I think.
A babyface?
Because I think like some people have personas, like they have names that aren't their birth names, and they they'll go out there, and it's not necessarily that they act like a character, but it's that it's just based on their personality. So my personality, I'm very just because I've gone through a lot of challenges, and I've I'm the leader of my Fresno team. I gotta be more of a baby face. I can't be a heel. And some people are heels, and some people are lead by being heels, and that works for some people, but not everyone. So I think it's good to have a blend, because if someone's too much of a baby face, they're gonna get walked all over.
Right.
So you gotta have a nice balance. But if I had to choose one or the other, definitely a baby face.
So when you're out there, like in your tournaments and stuff, you would consider yourself a babyface, like
Yeah.
you're not dirty. You're not going to hit somebody. Like you're pretty by the rules. And
No.
things happen, of course, but I'm saying like intentionally, right? You're not intentionally trying to go out there.
So if someone's because you're not required to wear armor on like parts like your ass, and so if I see someone who's not wearing ass armor, I'm not going to intentionally go and try to destroy his tailbone.
Right.
But there are some people. There are some booty hunters out there that
booty hunters.
No.
Go out, and if they see you without ass armor, they'll go and they'll target your ass. So those people would be more like heels,
Right.
But it's legal. It's a legal thing.
It's legal, yeah.
And gapping people where there's no armor is totally legal.
What's that?
Gapping. So like my shoulder armor, and then I have my chest armor. So if I open up like this, there's gonna be a slight gap right here.
Right.
And that's why I say you're as you're as safe as you make yourself. So you can have shoulders that come out to here where you go like this and there's no gap. Me, because I like mobility, I have a little bit more gaps. I just have to just not get hit. And that's my justification for anything. If people always trip because they're like, you don't wear padding under your armor. I'm like, no. I was like, I just wear a shirt, a long sleeve period shirt. Period shirt is like I don't know, like what you'll see some people at Ren Fairs wear.
Okay. Yeah.
It's legal because under the armor you need to have 1 millimeter of cloth under the armor. So I do the bare minimum and I have no padding, but that's because I want to move fast and I want to be able to maneuver, have high mobility. And so essentially people are like, well, what if you get hit? And I'm like, well, I just don't get hit, like that's the best. They're like, oh, does that hurt you when you, because sometimes we'll test out strikes on each other to see what the feeling would be like. And if someone tested out a strike on me and I it kind of fucking hurt, I'd be like, that hurts. They're like, are you gonna put padding? I'm like, no. They're like, why? They're like, that's kind of stupid. And I'm like, I just won't get hit, I'll just be faster. So I forgot where we were going with the question because I went off again, but
no, we were just talking about baby facing heels, and you were talking about gapping because I was like, well, what's gapping? And you're saying that it's everyone's armor is different, and that's something I think that you've alluded to. There's people who have custom, people who wear padding, people who are more safe, and people like you prefer mobility over padding. So I mean, obviously, it sounds like your pain tolerance is a little higher, and that's just the way you like to roll. But it's definitely interesting, and I know Bebo was asking me. He was like, how does it work? So in the next segment, we're going to kind of show up the videos, and that's where I'm going to have you explain the rules. What's the goal? How many what's points? What's rounds? And explain everything. Because I feel like too, like a lot of people ask me, like, how does that work? I'm like, I am not the person to answer that because I've never done it, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that after. So I only have like one more set of questions, and then we'll get into the videos and stuff.
All right. Cool.
So and I kind of sent you some of these beforehand just so you kind of got the vibe of what we're going to go for. And I told you before we started recording. So I have these kind of general questions where I kind of ask you, kind of get people get to know you and stuff, and know what the sport is about, and some of the details there. And then I like to get into some more thought provoking questions, and that's just because as athletes, I feel like sometimes like with social media nowadays, a lot of people just kind of see like a character and don't see a person.
Yeah.
And maybe it's more so with like champions and in sports, and I'm sure you see it too with social media or streamers and stuff like that, where you get to remember at the end of the day we're all people. So my first question is, when everything's said and done, what is the one thing that you want to be remembered for? And you can answer that in as far as like you, Eric Tafoya, in your life, or as like or in relation to your sport, or both. I mean, it's really open ended. So
yeah. So I want to be remembered for, I guess anyone would want to be remembered for their skill level. Like if they think of a specific fighter, you want to think, oh, that dude was great. He was really fast. He was really effective. He was really powerful with his swings. Et cetera, et cetera. So really personally, I just want to be remembered as someone who's reliable. But that's kind of a more selfish thing. Personally, I just want to be remembered as someone who made an impact on the sport in the Central Valley, in Fresno, because Fresno's struggled. Like the team's been around, since before I even started, but our boys like barely go to tournaments, and like I said, it's time restraints, it's financial limitations. There's a lot of different reasons of why, and I just want to be remembered as the guy who basically expanded armored combat in our area, California.
Right.
And if you look down in LA, San Diego, like they're doing a phenomenal job. There's a team that is in that we're actually fighting in one of the videos I sent you. The one at the Highland Games. They're called Ordo Draconis. I know the captain personally, and he's an amazing guy, but that team has been around forever, and they are they are very structured, and they got they're amazing, and that's kind
Were
of
they out of LA or San Diego?
San Diego. So I think it's like near San Diego or something like that.
Okay.
But yeah, like when I want people to think of our club and then think like, damn, like Eric built this club from almost nothing to what it is now. So and I want to give the guys an opportunity, the guys referring to my guys, an opportunity to be part of that.
Right.
It's one of the most well-established teams. They got a good system going. I know the fighters down there. I know the captain who actually retired. He doesn't compete anymore, but he still runs a team and coaches them. And yeah, great group of guys down there.
Nice. What is the most important thing in your life?
My wife and my I guess just ensuring that I have a future with my family. I mean, it's not really fight related, but in my life, like it sucks because fight has consumed my life for like the last 6 years, like I said. But honestly, if I had to give it up for my family, to ensure that we could financially make something work, or for whatever reason, if I had a better opportunity elsewhere, job opportunity, like fighting is, I always tell people, fighting is should be high on your priority list, but it shouldn't make you go bankrupt. It shouldn't put you in a situation, because real life comes first at the end of the day.
So you said that like we've been talking about this thing, and you said that it's a lot of money out of your pocket. Do you guys like have like sponsors and stuff that help you guys with things?
Yeah. So, well, yes, we can get sponsors. Do we have sponsors right now? No. So, we basically, we have a nonprofit that I'm actually not a part of. It shares the name of the fight group. So our fight group is known as Order of the Gauntlet and Rose. Our nonprofit is known as Company of the Gauntlet and Rose. Two separate entities. Our club has legally no affiliation with them, but we are connected because my former captain of Order of the Gauntlet and Rose, the fight club, what is the CEO, or I don't know what his position officially says on his business card, but he has a nonprofit where people can basically donate, whether they want to donate supplies, donate tax deductible, say like, hey, like I want to sponsor Eric for his travel to South Carolina, and I want to buy his plane ticket, that'll be like tax deductible basically. And they hand it over to, they make that donation. And yeah, so I mean, that's one way we can get sponsors. One thing that pretty much everyone in this fighting community like sucks at is marketing. And I know I told you, some people are better than others. Like I don't want to knock anyone who's doing like a good job, because there are some people, some clubs out there where their marketing is good, but really the biggest thing is costs, marketing costs, time. So for me, I think I mentioned that I'm a marketer myself. However, marketing or working full time at a job in an office, coming home, operating a team, coaching that team, making sure myself is healthy, going to the gym every day. It gets exhausting, and admittedly so. Like I just don't really have the energy to be on my phone for 3 hours, making sure I have marketing material set up. And so, I mean, I will take the blame for that, because that's like kind of a fault of mine. But but I find that that's what a lot of people in this sport, this community, fighting community, that's the problem they have, is that it's just marketing. It's basically a full-time job. And I just think that's something that we can definitely do a lot better.
What has life taught you recently?
Just in general?
It could be in general. Like I said, these are more thought-provoking. It's more about you. You can relate it to fighting. It's however you want to do it. Like I said, I want to show the human side of athletes. And I mean, it could be in your life. It's, you know, whether it's something that life in the sport has taught you, like, you know, you've talked about being humbled and perseverance and stuff like that. But more recently, what has life taught you?
Patience. Trying to be calm because and I'm just speaking from my perspective, but as a leader of a team and being involved in a second team where you're actually competitive in, things can get very stressful very quickly. And when I say this, it's like no fault to anyone who calls me up on the phone and is like, "Hey, I got to talk about my problems," because there's times when I'm leading a team and I'm basically almost like someone's therapist, you know, like consistently. But you know, I welcome that, and I tell my guys, you know, I don't ever tell them, you know, don't call me, don't bother me, you know, like I'm like, hey, like if you're going through something, definitely reach out and let me know, because fighters, you know, if more often than not, you're for us, you're gonna find someone who has either trauma in their background, or they suffer from anxiety, depression, or we have veterans are very prevalent in the fighting community because they have a sense of belonging there. So for me personally, though, like being the leader of a team, it's just it feels like I give a lot of my time and my effort to other people more so than I prioritize my own time. And sometimes that can affect my mood a lot. And so that's why I say patience is a big thing. So, and it's like I said, it's not like I'm bitching about people, you know, confiding in me. You know, it's not like I'd rather them just, you know, leave me the hell alone. It's not like that. It's just, you know, it's just the nature of what I've taken up, basically.
Right. I mean, you're involved in a lot of things. Like
Yeah.
you're starting to get to the point where like your hands are almost too full.
Yeah, and I you know, and there's times when I just come home and I'm just freaking tired, bro.
Right.
I it's like I don't even want to play my video games because I'm just that dead, you know. And I have to
Right.
force myself to go to the gym because I'm, you know, I just want to lay on the couch and just stare at the wall because I'm just like need a moment to breathe.
Right.
But yeah, I mean that's something of recent that's definitely been a challenge, and life has definitely taught me patience. And I feel like I just recently had a bout with COVID, and so that kind of I look at that as like a blessing in disguise because it forced me to stay home and rest and recoup. And I feel, you know, coming back from COVID, I feel, you know, 10 times better than I did before. You know, so sometimes you need certain things to just kind of slow you down a little bit. But
And where would you say you find your inspiration?
So this is funny because when I first started the sport, my inspiration was that, you know, I'm just bored with life. You know, I need some excitement. I was with an ex-girlfriend at the time, and then when we had our nasty breakup or whatever, then my inspiration was like, well, I'm just gonna be a tank in this sport. I'm just gonna take hits like left and right because it's like the pain you feel on the inside is nothing compared to, you know, the pain you feel on the outside. At least that was my thought process, and I feel like that's why my pain tolerance is pretty high, because, you know, I can just take hits all day. But now, I mean, with my armor being optimized for mobility, I definitely I don't want to get hit. So um, yeah, that's just something that, you know, over time I've evolved in that way. And now, uh, you know, since being with my wife, my inspiration, you know, because I'm happy with her, and you know, you know, I still have my own problems with like I mentioned with the being busy all the time, but my inspiration is really helping others, because I can't tell you how many times my fighters have come up to me and told me that like the sport has saved their life. Like they probably would have killed themselves if they didn't have like a release, an outlet, you know. Even if they're not great fighters, you know, just the fact that they're showing up to practice every week, putting on armor, swinging it out, you know, it's addicting, and I try to raise my fighters as like a family, rather than I mean, I want them to be competitive, but I don't want it to be at the cost of it not being enjoyable,
Right.
So so yeah, as of right now, my inspiration is really my team, my guys. Because if it wasn't for them and forcing me into responsibility, I probably would have slowed down my fighting, when I got comfortable with my wife and life. I got a better job that's better paying. I probably, life was going good for me to where I probably would have slowed down with the fighting. But my guys are really forcing me to lead by example and keeping myself healthy. Because I can't yell at them and be like, you guys got to keep yourself healthy, and then me just be showing up to practice hungover or whatever.
Right.
So, and which unfortunately I did do that for I did that for a month or so. Like there's a time when I was going through it, and one of my Sacramento guys, he was like, hey, like you can't be doing that. And when he told me that, I was like, fuck. I was like, you're right. I can't be. I got to lead by example, and I can't be showing up to practice hungover and doing stuff like that. So yeah, really, the guys are my biggest inspiration.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And like I said, I don't mean these questions to get deep too much into like personal stuff. It's just more of like I said, I really liked when people can relate to people when they open up and they're a little more vulnerable.
Yeah.
And we can see the human side of athletes.
Yeah.
But the next segment I want to get into is I think what a lot of the people are excited about as well, which is the videos. And some of these are hilarious. I think I'm going to show my favorite one. Oh, actually, you know what? I'll show the tournament so you can explain the rules and stuff.
Okay.
But the very next video is that one that you just sent me where it's like the 6-second clip where you guys hit the guy in the head.
Oh yeah.
That's my favorite one. That's so funny. All right. So here's the 2023 California Classic Tournament. So this is right here. I'm just going to kind of give you the opportunity to explain the rules because I know even Bebo was asking me like, how does this work? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I have to ask the expert. You're the expert here. So you want to explain the tournament and explain how matches work, how many matches are in the tournament, and kind of just go through everything, and then we can hit play.
Yeah. So matches in the amount of matches in the tournament depends on the amount of teams. So for this tournament, I think there's like 5 or 6 teams, which means we fought, I think, like 5 times that day.
Okay.
The most I've ever fought in a single day was 10 matches, which is insane. It was insanity. I hated it. I wish it was a 2-day event, but we fit it all in one day.
Yeah, that's rough, dude.
And so like, for example, Carolina Carnage, that one, I think there's like 30 teams or, there's a lot of teams right here, but we don't fight each of those teams. So they broke it up by tiers. So my Sacramento team that I'm fighting with we're in tier 1, which is like the gold tier. And we're going to be fighting, I think, like 5 other teams, 4 or 5 other teams. And then tier 2 is basically everyone else, and they're broken up by groups. So it's all dependent on the event organizer to basically determine how the tournaments are ran. And usually tournaments aren't as big as this upcoming tournament. Usually closer to like this California Classic where there's like 6 teams and we'll fight each other. We'll each have a chance to face each other basically. So what a lot of my group fights that I talk about is 5v5s, 5 people versus 5 people. And on each team you have, on your roster, you can have 8 people. So you can have 5 people on the field and 3 subs. And basically 5v5s is more of a tactical, it's more of a tactical type of strategy that you're running because what you'll see here, mainly in the second round, you'll have 2 rails, which are the people that are on the closest to, this is what we call a list, a tabletop list.
Talk about this thing here, right? This
the
brown thing
what we fight in. Yeah.
Okay.
Some people will call it a ring, an arena, or whatever, but it's a list. I guess that's the proper name for it. And so we'll have two people on the rails, and then we'll have so two people on the rails like this. The second person in is their wing, and then you have the person in the middle. So that'll be 5 people all across. The person in the middle typically has to have the quickest reaction time and the best decision making on the field. And the reason for that is because if, let's say, a rail and wing on the left side gets tied up with some people, and let's say the person in the middle decides, hey, I'm going to try to make this a 3-on-2, that leaves 3 people on the other side for the opponents, right? And then it's going to be 3-on-2 on the other side. Or the opponent's mid, that's what we call the position, just mid. The opponent's mid will run into the backfield, and that's what you don't want. You don't want someone running into the backfield and getting our teammates' backs, basically. Because if they get into the backfield, then it's assuming they're an effective mid, they can take down our fighters pretty quickly. It's only a few seconds, honestly. And if you notice, these 2 rounds are 2 minutes. Basically, each of them is like a minute long. So the fights go really quick. Usually in 5v5s, or not usually, but almost always, they're going to be best of 3 rounds. So if one team wins 1 round and the other team wins another round, it will go to a 3rd round. If one team wins 2 rounds in a row, then they win the match, essentially. Okay. If it ends in like a tie, or not a tie, if the round ends in a tie, rather, that happens when, let's say, it's a 1-on-1, they're duking it out and they both fall to the ground. Because as you know, when someone gets thrown to the ground, they're out. Okay. And the history behind that is that back in the day, in medieval times, it would be looked at as like a death sentence if you fell on the ground, because there's so many people around, you're wearing armor, it's clunky, and all it takes is someone with a dagger to stick it in the eye hole or in the armpit, in the between the helmet and the chest, just stick it in the neck. So really, you want to stay on your feet, you don't want to go down. And let's say if you have 3 points of contact, so your feet are always considered 2 points of contact. If your hand touches the ground and you hold yourself up, you're technically down. If your knee drops to the ground, you're down. So let's say it's a 1-on-1 and they both go down, or someone throws their opponent, but they take a knee, they're technically down, And then it's a tie, then they get up and they go again and they fight again. So and so you might ask, well, what happens if they tie like 3 times in a row? Are they just going to keep going until one wins? There's a special rule. I don't want to say this is definite, because honestly, I rarely see this rule being implemented, but it's like champions rule or whatever, which is basically a 1-on-1 fight, and first person to basically go down or touch the rail. So basically, if they stay up and you tie up with someone and they touch the opposite rail, the person who touches the rail loses. I don't know if that's an established rule. That was something that I heard about a few years ago. I've never seen it implemented in a tournament. Usually it's in a practice setting or a scrimmage setting. Okay. So yeah, I mean, that one, it's rare that it goes on for that long. Usually
so when someone gets dropped, is that considered a kill?
Yeah, that's considered a
kill. Okay. So in a 5v5, basically you guys as a team are trying to get 5 kills to win the round.
Okay. And the way the points works is basically, let's say I'm on one team and my team kills all 5, but 3 of us drop. We'll get 2 points for us for the overall tournament.
Oh, I see.
Let's say none of us drop and we drop the entire team of 5 without any of us going down. That's 5 points for us for the entire tournament. And so the tournament is calculated by the accumulation of points, basically.
Oh, I see.
Now, if let's say, someone's just getting beat on, they're getting hammered, and the coach throws the white flag, because that's also an option in the sport. If they throw the white flag, even if it's a 2-on-1 and the person's getting just completely hammered and they don't want to go down and the coach throws a white flag, that's automatically 5 points for the next team because they're basically submitting. They're forfeiting the entire round, to the other team. So, yeah. And then so that's for 5v5s. The more people you get, the slower the match becomes, at least in my experience. So 12s is also very tactical, but it's a different strategy going into that. A 30-man, that one's more of a slow burn. It's not as fast paced as our fight that you'll see right here. And then the 150s, that one was just long. That one was like went on. That one went on for almost like 15 minutes. I went
so
down.
Crazy.
I went down around the 10-minute mark, and I just wanted to die like the next day because my shoulders hurt from just holding everything up. So, I mean, it was fun.
So crazy.
Yeah, once in a lifetime experience. But yeah, what you're gonna see right here is a 5s match, and you'll see how quickly it goes down.
Okay. Yeah, and what I'll do is I'll play it. If you want me to pause it, just say pause, and I can pause it, and you can explain. So I have my cursor. So you're saying this is your old coach here?
Yeah.
Or is this guy your coach? This guy here?
Yeah. So that was his name is Mark Jackson. He actually got me into this sport. He was the one that I went to his house, tried on his armor. Yeah, he was in the sport for years and years and years. My first tournament with him, he broke his knee, I think like patella or something like that. So he was out for a while. And as you can see, he's I don't want to say he's old because he's not old by any means. But for the sport, he was old, if that makes sense. In this sport, if you're approaching 40, you're technically old for the sport. But then again, age is just a number because our top fighters in the U.S. are in their 40s.
Wow.
90% of the team that took gold in Prague, they're in their 40s. And they're some of the strongest MFs I've ever fought. Massive respect for them.
So where are you at in this? Can you see yourself here
somewhere? So I wasn't in this first round. I'm in the next round.
You're in the next round. Okay. And are you a mid or what are you?
I'm usually a wing. For the upcoming Carnage tournament, I'm a mid. I'm gonna be a mid. But for this one, you'll see just kind of the evolution of how important a wing and rail is, specifically on the far side of the list. Not the guys with their backs facing us, but on the other side, the guys facing, those two.
Here?
Yeah. So one of them is my vice captain of Fresno, and he was a power lifter, and he's super strong. You'll see as the match progresses how his wing is very field aware. Like his field awareness is very top notch, and you'll notice how he turns his head to look and make sure no one's going to blindside him, while simultaneously protecting his rail. So you'll see how that teamwork happens when you play it.
Okay, and then what's the importance of protecting a rail?
So it's more so just how the pairing up, like how things are paired up. So if for example, if my mid gets stuck on the rail, and let's say I'm playing rail on the left side and my mid gets stuck near where I'm at, if I take my guy down, I'm going to help my mid out, So it's really just kind of how the match starts. It's usually, think of it like 2 pairs of 2, and then the mid right here. The mid is usually like I said, the fastest guy. So if, for example, the wing leaves his rail, he needs to communicate with his rail that he's got this, and he has to have enough trust in his rail's ability to not go down, because if he loses his rail, it's an automatic 5v4, and that's then you're at a disadvantage. So the guy, like I said, who's my vice captain on the far side, who's playing rail, when I partner up with him, which you'll see in the second match, I actually leave him because I trust that he's strong enough to withstand the one-on-one, and I'll explain that as we get into the second round. But
all right, I'm gonna not have the volume so loud so we can tell me to pause and stuff. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as you see, the start of the match is very I don't want to say slow, but like everyone's being cautious.
Mm-hmm.
On my side, the video is kind of just skipping. Like I'm seeing like
it's skipping here too, and I'm not sure why. Maybe the quality.
Oh, that could be.
Try it again. Oh yeah, look at it. Around the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's skipping. It's skipping. Yeah. We'll just keep playing it, and for some reason, I'll just show the videos that we have because those should be fine because they're downloaded.
Sure.
Okay.
So as you see that backside, the rail and wing they're working very well. As you can see, the wing's protecting him, and the rail is just completely dominating the opponent.
Right. Oh, so see those guys foul back there.
Yeah. So now it's a 2-on, or it's a 3-on-2, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then they ended up taking you don't see it in the video, but they took the guy down behind those two people. And when it's a 3-on-1, basically, they call stop fight because they just figure one guy's not going to take down 3 people, and still be up. All it takes is for one person to hold him up, and then the 2 people just totally
start drilling him.
Yeah. So as per the rules, when it's a 3-on-1, they call the fight.
So then that team would get 3 points?
Yes, correct. So the winning team would get 3 points.
Okay. And so then you guys are here, right? Or are you guys back here?
So yeah, we're still on the same side, the back side. I'm actually so I'm on the back wing right there. You see that short looking dude right there?
Right here?
No, other side. Right there. Yeah, that's me.
Right here. Okay.
So this tournament was the tournament that I was fighting with the fractured foot.
Oh man.
Yeah. But as
did you fracture your foot like in a fight or?
Yeah, so during practice actually.
What
happened was I went to kick someone's shin or their calf. But when I went to kick, he saw my kick coming, so he raised his foot. And when he raised his foot, my foot went he raised his foot high enough to where my kick, my leg sweep would have went under his leg, and my foot. So instead of connecting my shin with his calf, it was my foot with his back calf, and the force of my kick connecting with his back calf just broke that bone or fractured that bone right there.
He checked your kick.
Huh?
Did he check your kick? Is that what he did?
Oh, he tried to. So he lifted his leg to check it, but because my kick was not a high enough kick, it was more like a leg sweep I was going for. I kicked his back leg, and so it was the bone that's at the base of the big toe that I fractured.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, you good for me to start this second round?
Yeah.
Okay.
So as you see here on that back rail, my guy is actually in a 1-on-1, and I end up leading him to go take down
over here
guys.
Yeah, I don't know why it's so clunky, man. Oh.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's kind of chaotic right now.
Holy.
So if you want to pause it real quick. So then that's me right there on the backside.
Right here?
Yeah, so I have 3 guys up, including myself. They have 2 guys up. So it's a 3-on-2. So at this point, my goal isn't to just charge this guy and to try to get him down. Right here, I'm playing defense because I know my 2 guys can take down his 1 guy. So if I could keep the opponent who's in the shade right here with his back facing us.
This guy here?
If I can keep him preoccupied, I know my two guys will take down his second guy, in which it'll be a 3-on-1, and that's actually how we end up winning the round.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, see.
So he actually tries to get behind my teammate to maybe try to pull his head, but I'm right there to intercept him and basically play.
Oh, I see.
So they ended up taking him down, and it's a 3-on-1 at that point.
Oh, I see. So then you guys win the round at that point.
Yeah, and since we won both of the
Rounds.
first 2 rounds, we took the match against that team.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes YouTube's weird like that. I think it might just be YouTube. But I do have those videos downloaded. And I do have those TikToks. So I can show that TikTok that I was, and that shouldn't be a problem. It's only 6 seconds.
No. Those
it
TikToks
was,
are funny.
Yeah, so this is one of the ones, Bebel, that I saw the other day, and I was like just dying, dude.
Wait, where
So
are you at?
So I'm in the red right there. This is actually during practice.
Okay, this front one?
Yeah, this is at our training facility.
Oh, okay. Okay, actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
So this is a all year thing.
Year round, yeah.
So what you're telling me is you guys are out here training in that gear in 110 degrees in summer.
Yeah. We used to train outside and in someone's backyard, and that was brutal. Usually we can only go like a few rounds before we start having heat exhaustion. But the warehouse makes it more bearable, definitely.
Okay.
But yeah, so this is at your training facility or your practice facility.
Yeah.
This is you. I'm assuming these are all your teammates. These 2 guys are your teammates. But are you guys, is it like a 2-on-1 or what's happening?
So myself and the guy not the guy in the green who gets hit, but the other one is on my team. So the one he's grappling with. The one who
so this is you. This is the guy that's grappling. Okay.
Yeah, and the guy who comes up and hits homie from behind is also on my team.
Okay.
So he was actually preoccupied with another grappling at the opposite side of the list, but he turned around and he saw the opportunity to whack him in the back of the head, and
which is legal, right?
Legal, totally legal. And honestly, that's him being nice. Like this swing, it's not the hardest he could swing. So,
all right, ready, Bebo?
In nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti.
Oh my god, dude. Yeah, that was a good one, dude. That's a good one.
Cold-blooded right there.
I have a couple more videos. Sorry, that's kind of loud. Let me pull this over here. So this is a match. I don't know where you were at, but this is a match. You can explain it. Let me pull it up on the screen here. This is the match that you were talking about earlier, where there's like the reason why there's weight classes. And in this one, I think you were fighting somebody who was maybe a little smaller than you.
Yeah. So when I took this fight, I was told that he was around my body weight and around my size. Well, I actually told he was taller than me. But then I show up and I see who I'm fighting. I'm like, this doesn't seem right. Turns out I was supposed to fight his brother. So him and his brother, they look, I mean, they're not twins, but they look similar, And I guess I was supposed to fight his brother. And so this it was just a miscommunication on the event organizer's part. But yeah, this was technically my first pro fight ever. And this was his first pro fight ever as well. But the only difference is I was in the sport for 5 years and he's been in it for less than a year. So he's actually a super nice guy. And came up to me afterwards and I was like, dude, I want to fight like you. And I was like, hell yeah. And so I spent some time giving him some pointers and we exchanged contacts. So, he, we stay in touch and we still talk. And so that's how it is with the sport. It's all
right.
We'll shit out each other and it's all love after.
All right. You good for me to play it?
Yeah.
Okay. His name's Kevin. So this is Eric right here in the green and white. Oh.
So the reason I didn't attack him is because I thought he fell out of the list at that point.
Oh, okay. I was
So,
like, 'cause I know you can hit on the ground, right?
Yeah. I just didn't want to risk like getting, like yellow carded or whatever. If he's out of the list and I just keep, going at him. So
Oh, there's a trip. Boom. Just like bashing the shit out of him.
So my goal is to in this is to punch the stomach out, because if you punch their head, like, yeah, it rocks them, but the helmet's the thickest armor that anyone should be wearing.
Right.
So if you're punching their helmet, if they're used to punches and they're they can take that all day. So
Right.
what I go for, especially in a one-on-one, I go for body shots. If I get them to the ground, I just start planting my it's called a buckler, so it's that small round. I just plant my buckler into their stomach and try to knock the air out, so that way when they do stand us up, they're going to be kind of out of breath, hopefully.
Right.
That's the idea.
Right. And was he out of breath, or was he just the armor's heavy?
He was wearing armor that wasn't really fitted for him.
Oh, got it.
So there is some armor issues here. But yeah.
Is that his brother?
That's actually the event organizer. That's his one of his teammates.
Okay.
Like in the melee's fighting. So.
Oh shit.
He actually caught my foot right there.
Yeah. Oh, toss him again. Oh.
Damn.
Ooh.
Ooh.
So
yeah.
do they? Because he's not fighting back. Is that why they stopped it? Or
yeah. So part of the rules with pro fighting is when you go to the ground, they count to 10 seconds and then they'll stand you up. So let's say I wasn't giving ground and pound. Let's say I threw him down and then he held on to me and we're just kind of wrestling on the ground. They'll count to 10 seconds and they'll stand us up. Because at that point, we're not really doing anything. The major flaw, though, that I see in pro fights is that when you basically how you knock someone out, get a TKO, is 10 undefended strikes, on the ground. Well, that's 10 seconds. They stand you up after 10 seconds. So basically, you have to throw a strike that's undefended for one strike a second.
right.
So, I mean, it kind of sucks. So like, there's been a few times when I thought they should have stopped it because I thought he wasn't defending himself, which I guess he was, if you think about it. If this was like UFC or MMA, like technically, he's like this, he's defending himself.
Right.
But I don't know. I thought they could have called it early, but oh well. More fight time for me. So
right.
And I gave this guy the talk too about just getting up and going, and that there's going to be more times where you're going to be knocked down and getting beaten.
You can see they're fixing his armor quite a bit.
Yeah. So that's as you can see, the armor looks a little bigger on him, and that's a loner kit. That's what we call a loner kit. So he he was at a disadvantage, not just experience wise, but equipment wise. He's just not used to it. If I wore equipment that was meant for a 6'5" person and I tried to do a pro fight in that, it would suck.
Right.
So
all right, I'm gonna keep playing.
Yeah. Is this the one where he I think he trips me up right here.
Yeah. They're like, oh. Oh, but you pop right back up though.
I think that was the end of the round. So we actually went for 2 rounds on this. And it was, yeah, he's dazed right there, it looks like.
Yeah.
But
Go, Kevin!
Go, Kev! Ready? Fight! Go, Kev!
Go, Kevin!
Bro!
Not a good start.
Good, Kev!
Go, Kevin!
Hands up, Kevin! Helmet! Oh, fuck. Back to the corner. That's why I told Good to resume. Ready? Fight! Driving, Kev. You got this. Go. There you go. Let's go, Kev. Push down. Knee. Shield up. Shield up. Shield up. Shield up, Kev. Shield up. Driving. Driving. Down. Down. Let's go, Kev.
Go, Kevin!
we actually went for 2 rounds, and I ended up winning by winning. I won by technically it was a armor failure because they just kept fixing it and they're like, nah.
Oh.
So
Here,
But-
I have another clip. Maybe you can explain. Or go ahead, Bibble.
No, what?
Oh, I thought you said something. Oh.
Actually, I do have a question though. So is like your record, like a big thing in the sport? Like, does a record matter?
yeah, so in a one-on-one, actually I take it back. In a one-on-one, pro fights aren't usually measured like the way like melees or pro fights and like let's say 30s, a 30-man fight, they'll still rank them like, oh, you got first, second, third, whatever, but it doesn't hold the same weight as like if you were to win gold of a 5s tournament. So pro fighting is
Yeah.
I don't want to diminish its value, but it's just not.
Do you want to explain what's going on here in this one?
Yeah, so this is actually how I fractured my foot right here.
Oh.
So this is when I explained when I went to kick his front leg, I went to kick my shin with his calf on his front leg. But since he raised his leg, my foot ended up connecting with his back leg.
Hmm.
So you'll see it,
Is it- You're the guy right here, the front?
in the blue.
No, he's right.
Blue and
You're
black.
here?
Yeah, that's me.
Or this is you right here?
No, that's me in the blue and black.
Right here.
No, that one right there with his back to us.
Oh, this guy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Oh. And you immediately knew once you did it that you hurt something?
Yeah, it hurt pretty bad.
Wow.
And I kicked him so hard that it warped my so the armor that goes on my foot is called a sabaton, and it warped my foot armor, and it was all like bent sideways. So it was gnarly.
Damn.
I should have sent you the clip, Rodney, of me almost impaling my foot. So I was
impaling your foot?
So I was kneeing someone in the head, and because he had a sword, I went to knee him in the head, and when I kneed up, the sword went through my sabaton and missed my foot.
I think I saw that. I think I've seen that before. I think you showed me that.
Yeah.
The last time I saw you. I think.
Yeah.
Well, not at your wedding, but I mean, before that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think.
And that was my fractured foot too that I almost impaled. So.
Oh my god. So here I have another
crazy.
one. Can you explain what's happening here? I just see some guys on the ground here. I don't know if they're chilling or what they're doing.
This one's no, we all got thrown. So.
Oh, okay. They're just like chilling.
Yeah, no. So
is this the coach, the old coach right here?
No.
Oh, okay.
He's just helping what we call marshals. So the refs are called marshals.
Oh, okay.
So basically, right here, this is mid-match. It ended up being a one-on-one, and this is a goofy match. This is a teammate we have in Sacramento. His name's Andrew. He's very out there. And you'll see in this video, but he's a very skilled fighter, and he's a funny ass dude. So right here,
is this you and him, or is it just him?
No, that's just him, and then that's my vice captain, the one who I broke my foot on.
Oh, okay.
So my vice captain will approach him, and he gets a nice throw.
Oh.
And then you'll see him do a crude joke right here.
Oh man.
So yeah, we try to have fun whenever we can at practice. You'll never see us really doing that at a tournament, just because that's a little more crude. But during practice, yeah, we always do crazy shit like that.
Here, I have a minute-long clip that you sent me, and maybe this might be a better one because if the other one was so clunky, I wonder if this might be better. Just because, and like I said, I think it's mostly just YouTube. YouTube kind of gets weird whenever I try to do stuff on here. So because you sent me stuff, I think it's looking a lot better, right? It's pretty clean now. Yeah. So this looks like some kind of tournament, right?
This is in Prague.
Prague. Yeah.
And I feel like a piece of shit because I don't remember the name of the team that we're fighting. But this is one of the team. This is just a round from Prague, so it's not a full fight. But yeah, as you can see, it was pretty overcast, and it actually started raining later that day.
Wow.
So yeah, and fighting in the mud just sucked, honestly.
Yeah. So like, I think what I'm going to do is I'll leave all the explanation of the stuff, and because it's clunky, I'll include this as well to kind of just show where you have your wings, you have your mids, and you have what's this thing called again? The brown?
A list.
A list. But we'll just go ahead and show the clip. And I'm assuming this is how you guys set up? Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys are this team here?
Yeah, we're the
In the
team
blue.
in the black and blue. I think I'm trying to see where I'm at.
Oh, here's the mids. They took off. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, see these in the mids? Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So after the evolution of the match starts taking place, the positions start to just get muddled. Like the rails, if they take their guy down, they might run across the field. and take someone else out. So I think that's me over there in the corner.
Oh, here?
No,
Or
the
here?
other corner back there. I think that's me right there. We ended up taking that round.
Wow.
Damn.
But yeah, that was in Prague this past year.
This is hard. It's my people fighting the Americans.
Our weapon.
Get the hell out of there!
Come on, Craig!
Keep your feet, son! Sail! Sail, help her! Sail, help her! Find the sail!
One down, boys. One down,
Keep up! Boys, slow! Take it slow!
Come on, Craig!
There you go!
So they hate Americans over there.
They do?
Oh yeah,
Why is
A
that?
lot of places in Europe don't really like Americans.
Oh.
They see us as cowboys. The
Cowboys?
the loud, obnoxious jocks, if you will. Like that's
I
just
mean, that's
I don't
just a
know.
persona that we have with the world.
Yeah, we actually got turned away from a restaurant one time
Really?
because we were wearing our USA. Well, they didn't say this is why, but we can. I don't know. We can infer that it was because we were wearing our USA tabards, our USA clothing. That when we walked in, they're like, no, we're closing down, and it's like we saw on the sign it said that they closed in an hour. So we're like, what the hell? And they're like, the kitchen's not making food. We're like, all right,
Wow.
fuck it, and we walked out.
Wow. What's going on
That's
here in this clip?
crazy.
Is this Prague as well?
Yeah, so that's me right there holding what's called a carcass splitter.
This
That-
thing?
Yeah, that tall dude, is the one who's called Jotun, Dylan.
This guy here? Or this guy?
No, he's not in the clip.
Oh.
But remember Dylan, the tall guy.
Yeah.
He actually found historical reference to the weapon I'm using right there, and he actually was the first one to have that weapon made.
Wow.
And I don't use it anymore because it's one of the heaviest weapons in the sport. And
Wow.
for someone who needs to be fast, you need to be efficient with it, and I wasn't very efficient with it. But it's good for chopping some people down, which you'll see in this clip.
Okay.
So look at this guy's armor right here.
Oh. 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 Oh my God, bro. Here, I'm gonna go back to that spot. Look at this dent, dude. Look at that.
Damn.
See that dent? Wow.
I felt bad because I didn't see that his gauntlet came off. His gauntlet is the hand armor, so I didn't see
Yeah.
that his gauntlet came off. And when he was going down, he put his hand up, and I almost smashed his hand. I almost turned his hand into ground beef.
Oh
Because if
no.
you lose a piece of armor, like if you lose your gauntlet, you just tuck that bitch and you just fall on the ground. You don't try to stay up. You don't try to walk around. You drop because things like that could happen.
Right.
Come on, Eric! Woo!
Wow. That's crazy.
That's
Here, I have a
wild.
couple more clips to share.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a ton. And at the end of the video, I'll have you shout out your socials, shout out your team, and where everyone can see it. And then I'll actually link it. And our stuff comes out on YouTube and Spotify. I think about going to put them on podcasts, like Apple Podcasts, but I haven't gone through it to do it yet, but that's the goal. But I can include everything, and if you want to send me a list of everything that you want me to include, whether it's your personals or whatever, let me know, because it's going to take me a few days to edit this, and then
Yeah, that's fine.
I'll have it out. Okay. All right. So here's the next clip. Do you want to kind of explain what's going on here?
Yeah, so the guy with his back to us in the black, that's right in the center. Yeah, he's on my team. He very fortunately so was able to grab two people, one person with one arm, the other person with his other arm. So he's basically occupying two people right here.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the opportunity to whack the person on his left arm. So you'll see that. And I'm in the red right there.
Right here. You're here in the red.
Yeah.
Okay. Ooh.
Oh.
Ooh. Oh. And basically, when they go down, they're like submitting, right? They're like, okay,
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's times in practice where, like I've done it before where, practice is no place to really get hurt. So especially if you're getting hit like that. So there's times when I've been on a team where it's a 2v1 and I'm the one. And the people that I'm practicing against are people on my team, but I know that they are, that they can swing pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll have one guy tie me up, and I'll see homie kind of start to wind up, and I'll just be like, "Fuck this, I'm not." I'll just go down because it's practice. Practice is no place to get hurt. So like if my teammate who I know is very capable of putting someone down, I see him winding back. I'm just like, I'll tell him, I'll be like, I'm going down. I'll just take a knee because I'm not gonna risk breaking my armor. I'm not gonna risk doing shit like that. Basically.
That's fair. So I have one more clip, unless you want me to go into some of the TikToks. This is let's see, here we go. This 5-second clip. I'm assuming this is you guys at practice?
Yeah.
You're here in the red?
Yeah. So this one I feel bad because I was aiming for the side of his leg, but because the side my axe actually wrapped around. So what I felt bad about is I was aiming for the side of his leg, and my axe had wrapped around and hit the back part, the black part of his leg, which is unarmored. So this was yeah, I felt bad about this, but it wasn't intentional.
Oh, he hit the guy in the head, bro. Oh my god, dude. Oh, it's such a trip, dude.
Yeah.
That looks brutal, dude.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Here, I have a couple YouTube or TikTok clips. Let me see if I can pull them up real quick.
If you get the chance to show the one where my teammate loses his helmet, that one's funny to laugh at, but in that moment it's not so funny. Because
let me find
shitting myself.
Okay. See that?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to the point. So look at that. It barely misses his head, dude.
Damn.
My homie almost died right there.
That's crazy.
And that was that like something of like, was his helmet too big, or that just happened like?
So his there could be a lot of reasons. It could be that he just didn't strap his chin strap tight enough. We encourage people to wear what's called a Simon strap, which is a strap that connects on the back of the helmet to the back of your back armor. So if someone tries to rip your helmet off, this strap will basically prevent it from doing so, in addition to your chin strap. I don't wear a Simon strap, and I probably should. And I recommend everyone to wear a Simon strap. But there could be a ton of reasons. Like I lost my helmet in Prague one match. And it wasn't that my chin strap was loose. It was that the rivet that was holding my chin strap, it ended up getting pulled through the helmet hole right here, and so the chin strap like kind of came undone, and then I was grappling with someone and they just ripped my helmet off. But here's the thing: if I was wearing a Simon strap, that wouldn't happen. So definitely, I would encourage everyone in the sport to wear their Simon strap.
So here's another video. I
Yeah,
don't know if you want to explain what this one is, but
this one is basically just a quick like promo video almost.
okay.
It's only a few seconds.
You ain't seen nothing yet.
Dude, those head strikes are so brutal.
Damn. Yeah, that freaking getting hit in the head.
Yeah.
But,
I've been hitting the head quite a bit, and mainly in my early career, just because I didn't know any better, and I just tanked shots, which you shouldn't do, but I did early in my career, and getting hit in the head, it definitely takes its toll on you, after a while.
so this is the 150, I think, right? 150 versus 150.
So, fun fact, that U.S. fighter in that shot right there in the front, to the left, that's me right there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Let's check it out.
Leading the charge.
Just 150 people just duking it out, dude.
300 technically.
That
But
is
that beginning clip of me running out there, that was me being so fucking tired and like of fighting all day, and that was like our second or third round of 150s, and I was like,
Wow.
F this, I'm just gonna charge full speed and just I took out, I think, like 2 Australians or something like that, and then someone just ripped me from behind and just threw me down. So
man.
it wasn't very smart, but I was just so tired. I was like, fuck this. I'm going to just try to take out someone. And I just charged straight into there.
You're like, it'll look good for the clip, huh?
Yeah.
But, thank you for explaining the rules. Thank you for showing us some of those videos. Thank you again for coming on. I know this was kind of a long interview, but dude, this is such a sick sport, dude. Like, I'm really excited that you came on here. I know a lot of people were excited to listen. Tell everyone where they can check you out and follow you.
Yeah. So, you can follow the team page on Instagram. It's just Order of the Gauntlet and Rose. I know it's a mouthful. It wasn't my choice for the name, but it's a household name in the community. It's been around forever. So that's our Instagram name. So you can just at Order of the Gauntlet and Rose. TikTok, same thing. It's at Gauntlet and Rose. We are also on Facebook, although we're not as active on Facebook. At least our group is not as active on Facebook. So you can find us there. Also, shout out to Sacramento War Pigs, our competitive team that Gauntlet and Rose in Sacramento collaborates with pretty frequently. So that's kind of how you could get in contact. Anyone who's interested, you can message on Instagram or TikTok, the Gauntlet and Rose page, and I'll get those messages directly, and I'll set you up with getting started.
Eric's socials will be tagged and linked down in the description. And until next time, thanks for coming on, brother, and allowing us to having the opportunity to speak with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Until next time, everybody. Peace.